easy being a Coyotes fan, but it sure isn't easy being a Coyotes fan in the middle of Alberta. To the north of me are the Edmonton Oilers, and to the south of me are the Calgary Flames. And here I am, smack dab in the middle. So join me as I talk about the 23-24 Arizona Coyotes on Season 1 of the Albertan Coyotes Fan. So stay howling and go YOTES! Okay. Coyotes lose 4-3 against the Colorado Hurricanes. Hurricanes? That's staying in. Against the Colorado Avalanche. My bad. Can you tell it's been slow? It's been slow. And, you know, this is a late video because after this game, I had to take some time. I had to think. The reason I had to think was that it was basically a question of what's killing this team. What's keeping this team from its potential? Because it does have potential. Nick Schmaltz, he is one of the lifelines of this team. And yet, here for the last couple games, he's been falling apart. He's been playing very poorly. He's been playing very clumsily, very nervous, almost. And I had to stop and I had to think, what was going on? Because we saw our early success. We saw what our play style is like at the beginning of the year. We went 5 straight against the previous 5 Stanley Cup teams. And yeah, you can make the argument that a few of them are no longer Stanley Cup caliber. Vegas is, Colorado is, and Tampa Bay still has their... Yeah, they're still very strong. So I had to think. And it got to the point where I'm pretty sure I've got it nailed down. And it's not a fun one. It's the fans. It's the fans. There's no support when the boys are at home. When they're playing away, the expectation is you're going to be playing in front of your opponent's fans. It's your enemy. When you go home, though, the expectation is that you're going to be playing in front of your own people, your own barn. And that's just not the case for the Coyotes. Yeah, there's a few people there. But ultimately, they get trumped by the fact that the building is filled of everyone else. Hurricane fans took over the building a couple nights ago. The Carolina, not the Colorado. Colorado fans yesterday were pretty loud. I don't think there's been one game over this past 8-game or 9-game stretch where, like, we were at home, where the boys were playing in front of Coyotes fans. And that sucks. That's such a mental game and a mental strain on the Coyotes. Because hockey is a mental game. Hockey is a very emotionally led game. And if the other team can get into your head somehow, think Brad Marchand and what he's done, they have you beat. Now, what if they don't even have to do anything, and all they need is to play in your barn because the fans will show up, and suddenly your barn is no longer your barn? What's that gonna do to your mind? What's that gonna do? And I mean, it's one thing to say, like, you know, oh, just go and show up, support your team. I get that it's not necessarily feasible for everyone. But that's basically exactly what I'm saying. If you have the spare time, it's not a bad idea to go and support your team. If you want the Coyotes to stay, and there's been a lot of Coyotes fans / people from Arizona, I don't know if they're actually Coyotes fans, I don't know, that say that they want to keep the team in Arizona. Show it. Prove it. You can't say that you want to keep a team somewhere and then not support them. And now the repercussions are coming full force in that we have a team that can do well. We have a team that can do really well. Nick Schmaltz being one of the lead players in that doing well team. And suddenly this team is falling apart. They've fallen off a cliff and they can't get out of it. And it's because we're playing every single night without home ice advantage. Doesn't matter where we're playing, we don't have it. The season's tickets holders, that's great. It's great that they have that. It's perfect. It's fine. It's great. They don't have enough of that. The only one I could really think of that's like really diehard is the one guy in like a high-vis jersey right near the, like if you're watching the broadcast, he's on the right side, right behind the net. I like him. He's cool. I really like him. But beyond that, there's no support. You can have a handful of diehard people, but it's all trumped by the thousands upon thousands of diehard fans for the other team that just works into your soul and into your head, and suddenly you start making stupid mistakes, like in this case, Schmaltz. Cooley going out there, he's young, he's impressionable, but he's got the resilience to try and play hard. I think it's getting into his head a bit he's trying to prove something. And he's trying to do too much. He's trying to shut down the building because the building's too loud. Because it's not their fans. And he does too much and he gets burned for it, and then the puck goes the other way. It's an unfortunate situation, and this is why I had to think. Because I already knew in the back of my mind that it had to do with the fans. It had to do with something that was beyond the game. And it's something that people, when they talk about hockey, they never really think about. But this is the perfect lab experiment for that. The Coyotes are in a prime position for people to go in with lab coats and start studying them. Because they've had so many different situations with their arenas. Smaller arena, more echoey arena. Arena that was small, that was packed. Playoff arena, when they had the whiteout a while back. They could study that. Now they're studying small arena, but it's not even your fans. And now we can see the impact that an arena has on its team. Because it's happening day in and day out, and it's almost becoming predictable. If there are more opponent fans than home fans, it's pretty well guaranteed we're not going to do well. If we win, great, but we're not going to do well in it. And that's where it boils down to, what do we do? There's really only two options I can think of. And the first one is, obviously, if you really want to see the team stay in Arizona, go show up. Show up and support them. Show up and show the team that you still care. You care that they're in Arizona. Everyone keeps fighting for, we don't want to relocate. We don't want the Coyotes to move. We don't want them to go back to Quebec, or not back to Quebec, but go to Quebec. We don't want them to go to Salt Lake City. We don't want them to go to Houston. Prove it. Prove it. Because right now, what they're seeing is a city, a fan base that doesn't give a damn. That doesn't give a shit about what happens to this team. Tourney's doing what he can. Tourney is going out there and he's got this focus on, it's still really just the end stages of a rebuild, which is still true. We weren't expecting to make it far, but we were expecting improvement. And the improvements, it's been there. There has been improvement, but it's all being taken back by the fact that there's a mental game going on that we aren't seeing, and there is no support for it at all. So if you're going to whine about this team possibly relocating and how much you don't want it to happen, show up! Because the alternative is the Coyotes pack up their things and they leave. Salt Lake City's already looking, they've already had conversations. Houston's been looking for a while. Quebec, no doubt. they'd take the team in. Saskatchewan, as much as Bettman wouldn't do it, Saskatchewan would take them in, and they'd support them. It's not a big market in Saskatchewan, but what Saskatchewan has over Arizona, which, by the way, they're right by Phoenix, which is the 5th largest metropolis in America. And what Saskatchewan, which doesn't even come close in population, has over this city is loyalty. You look at Suns games, you look at Diamondback games, you look at Diamondback games, oh my word. Okay, just to stick with the Diamondbacks for a minute. They ended up selling their tickets, some of them, to try and get people to show up during the playoffs. They sold those tickets for peanuts. Peanuts. So that their barn, I don't know what they would call it a barn, their stadium was filled with fans. With fans. And at that point, it's probably closer to fair weather fans. I don't know. But either way, they had to bend their backs so that people would show up and support them during the playoffs. So what I'm seeing as an Albertan who's not there is a team playing in a place where no one gives a shit about what happens to them. They don't care if they go and bottom out in the league. They don't care. They don't care if they go and make the Stanley Cup Finals. They don't care if they win the cup. Not that it'll happen anyway, because this is such a mind game and a mind melt for them that they can't play to their potential because no one's there to support them. The fact that I'm here in Alberta, and I don't mean to blow my own whistle, but I'm going to. The fact that I'm up here in Alberta, and the only reason I'm a fan of this team is because of their captain that retired 6 or 7 years ago, that I seem to have better support than people who live in the city of Tempe, of Phoenix, of Glendale. That says a lot, eh? So I'll still make these videos going forward. I'm still going to make these videos. I'm still going to talk about the team. Because I support the Coyotes. I support this team. I support where they're at. But if where they're at isn't going to work because I'm supporting them from miles away and no one wants to give in the effort to support them in Arizona, I'd be the first person to tell them, move the damn team. So that's all. In the meantime, stay howling. Go Yotes, for those who care. For the rest of you who might not care, know that this is a revenue building thing. Like, people have jobs there. People have jobs in arenas. I used to have a job in an arena. It's not just a whole bunch of millionaires. It's a whole bunch of other jobs too. Learn to care. Learn to care.